In a twist that has sent shockwaves through both the fashion world and global markets, a storm is brewing between one of the most iconic luxury brands on the planet and the factories accused of pulling back the curtain on its secrets. Headlines are ablaze with claims that Chinese manufacturers have abruptly ended all Hermes-related production, following what's being called a dramatic legal showdown. At the center of it all, explosive allegations, viral footage, and a fight over the truth behind the world's most coveted handbags. As curiosity turned to frenzy, the world wanted to know what sparked this explosive fallout between Hermes and these Chinese manufacturers. The answer begins with a series of viral videos that no one could ignore. In mid-2025, the luxury world was rocked by a wave of viral videos that no one saw coming. Chinese manufacturers, previously operating in the shadows of the global supply chain, stepped into the spotlight with bold claims that immediately captured international attention. These videos, filmed inside sleek factories and bustling workshops, showed what appeared to be the production of Hermes handbags. Bags that millions associate with unmatched European craftsmanship, exclusivity, and five-figure price tags. What made these clips so explosive was their content. The manufacturers outright claimed that they were producing real Hermes bags. The footage highlighted skilled workers handling fine leather, assembling pieces with precision, and fitting hardware that looked indistinguishable from the brand's signature details. Viewers were shown what seemed to be Birkin and Kelly bags, getting stitched and polished, ready for shipment. But the most shocking element wasn't just the craftsmanship, it was the message that accompanied the visuals. These manufacturers claimed that the materials and labor behind these so-called luxury goods cost only a fraction of their retail price. In a matter of minutes, they flipped the script on what consumers thought they knew about luxury fashion. People who had long associated brands like Hermes with heritage artisans in France were now being told that their prized bags might be coming from factories in China. The reaction was immediate and intense. The videos ignited outrage and fascination in equal measure as audiences grappled with what they had just seen. The massive markups that underpin the luxury industry were suddenly out in the open, with alleged proof that the price of these coveted items had little to do with their production cost. Claims of corporate greed and fraud echoed across social media as millions of viewers shared, debated, and dissected the footage. Chinese platforms amplified the narrative, turning it from a niche controversy into a global conversation that questioned everything people thought they knew about luxury branding. But the videos were just the start. What truly set the internet ablaze were the bold claims these factories made, claims that challenged everything people believed about luxury's most guarded brand. The claims from these Chinese factories hit harder than anyone expected. In video after video, the manufacturers didn't hold back. They openly declared that they were the ones behind the so-called icons of luxury, the Hermes bags people lined up for, waited years to buy, and paid eye-watering sums to own. They were producing bags identical to Hermes originals. In fact, some went a step further, suggesting that their workshops were quietly supplying Hermes itself. The heart of their claim, that world-famous Birkins and Kellys, symbols of wealth, status, and timeless design, weren't just coming from French or Italian ateliers. They were being assembled in Chinese factories at a fraction of the cost that Hermes customers believed they were paying for true European craftsmanship. According to these manufacturers, the bags are shipped out of China at low production costs that would stun every luxury shopper. But it wasn't just talk. The videos gave viewers a front-row seat to the production process. Skilled workers were shown cutting, stitching, and shaping high-quality leather. Close-up shots revealed hardware that gleamed with precision, looking nearly identical to the signature locks and clasps that make Hermes bags so recognizable. And then came the final punch. These manufacturers claimed they could sell these bags directly to consumers, bypassing the retail markup, for just a small fraction of what Hermes charges. The implication was massive. If true, it meant that customers paying $38,000 or more for a Birkin were really buying something that cost only a few $100s to produce. As the factory's statements spread like wildfire, it didn't take long for Hermes to respond. The brand, facing mounting scrutiny, took swift action to defend its name and legacy. Hermes didn't waste a second in firing back. As the viral videos continued to rack up views and spark global outrage, the luxury giant went into defense mode, determined to protect its image at all costs. The brand issued a firm and immediate denial, calling the claims outright false. Hermes stood by its story, a story that had defined its identity for generations. The company insisted that every Birkin, every Kelly, and every other iconic piece came from the hands of skilled artisans in France and Italy, where tradition, precision, and strict quality control had always been at the heart of production. But Hermes didn't stop at statements. The brand's legal team moved swiftly, launching lawsuits aimed at both the creators of the viral videos and the manufacturers behind the bold claims. The company accused them of misleading the public, damaging its hard-earned reputation, and violating trademarks that represented a legacy. Hermes argued that these videos weren't just spreading misinformation. They were attacking the very foundation of what the brand stood for: authentic European craftsmanship, rarity, and uncompromising standards. In official statements, Hermes was clear and unflinching. "Our craftsmanship remains rooted in Europe under strict quality control," the company declared. "Any claims otherwise are false and damaging." It was a message meant not just for the factories or the content creators, but for the millions of consumers watching the drama unfold. With lawsuits flying and official denials in place, attention shifted to a burning question: did Hermes' legal threats actually force these factories to stop? After Hermes launched its legal counterstrike, the spotlight turned back to the Chinese factories at the heart of the storm. The big question circulating across social media, news outlets, and luxury forums was simple: did these manufacturers actually stop producing Hermes bags? And if so, why? Reports began surfacing that some of these factories had suddenly pulled the plug on any activity tied to Hermes. Workshops that once proudly showed off their so-called luxury creations went silent. Hermes had made its position crystal clear through lawsuits and public statements. Any unauthorized use of its name, designs, or trademarks would be met with aggressive legal action. That left the manufacturers with a choice: risk costly court battles over accusations of counterfeiting and intellectual property theft, or quietly step away before things escalated further. Despite all the noise, no evidence emerged to confirm that Hermes ever produced bags in China. The brand's claims of European craftsmanship remained intact, at least in terms of what could be proven. While the factories may have stopped, their videos had already done the damage, leaving consumers worldwide questioning what was real and what was an illusion in the world of luxury. But even as the factories went quiet, confusion reigned. Hermes exposed. By this point, the internet was drowning in opinions, hot takes, and conspiracy theories. But when you cut through the noise, what's fact and what's just hype? Let's break it down. The loudest claim that sent shockwaves across the luxury world was that Hermes had been secretly making its iconic bags in Chinese factories. The idea that the brand's prized Birkins and Kellys weren't coming from European ateliers but from factories halfway across the world felt like a betrayal to many. But here's the truth: there's zero hard evidence to back this up. Hermes production remains rooted in Europe, just as the company has always said. Despite the viral videos and bold claims, no credible proof has surfaced showing any official Hermes manufacturing in China. Then, there was the second claim that caught fire: the idea that these Chinese factories had exposed the real cost of luxury. And on this point, the factories definitely succeeded in sparking a conversation. Their videos demonstrated how similar-looking bags could be produced with skilled labor and quality materials for a fraction of the price you'd find in a boutique. Chinese cheap deals. They showed the world that impressive craftsmanship doesn't always come with a five-figure price tag. While these weren't official Hermes pieces, the craftsmanship shown in the videos forced consumers to question where the value in luxury goods really comes from: materials, skill, or the power of the brand. Finally, there was the rumor mill spinning out stories that Hermes had lost a legal battle over these claims. The internet ran wild with talk of courtroom defeats and settlements. But here's the reality check: there's no proof that Hermes lost any legal fight connected to this saga. If cases are ongoing, they're playing out behind closed doors, and no details have been confirmed publicly. What's clear is that Hermes hasn't backed down, and the legal battles, if they're happening, are far from over. In the end, the line between truth and hype blurred fast, but when you look closely, the facts tell a very different story from the headlines that first grabbed the world's attention. Beyond the shock value, this episode left behind lasting lessons, not just for Hermes, but for consumers and the entire luxury industry. The bigger picture reveals how the game has changed. China global luxury. When the dust settled, what stood out most wasn't just the controversy itself, it was what this entire saga revealed about the luxury world as a whole. For consumers, the takeaway was impossible to ignore. The viral storm made it painfully clear that a huge part of luxury pricing has little to do with the cost of materials or the hours of labor. Instead, what people are really paying for is the brand, the name, the legacy, the promise of exclusivity. That tiny logo stamped on a bag or a belt? It's what turns a few $100s worth of leather and metal into something that commands 5 figures in a boutique. And now, millions of consumers are looking at those price tags with new eyes, questioning whether the story behind the brand is worth the premium. For Hermes, the episode served as a wake-up call about just how vulnerable even the most storied, iconic brands can be in today's world. This is a company that spent nearly 2 centuries building an image of perfection, craftsmanship, and tradition. But in the age of viral content, that image can be shaken in a matter of hours. One wave of videos, one narrative that spreads fast enough, and suddenly, the public starts to question what once seemed untouchable. Hermes learned that no amount of heritage can fully shield a brand from the power of modern media. And for the wider market, this was proof of something the luxury industry has quietly feared for years. Social media has the power to tear down long-standing myths overnight. What once took years of careful marketing to build can be unraveled by a single viral story. The glossy image of luxury, built on carefully controlled messages and aspirational branding, is now at the mercy of platforms that thrive on disruption and controversy. This saga didn't just rattle Hermes. It sent a message to every high-end brand that, in today's world, no myth is safe from scrutiny, and no name is too powerful to be questioned. And as the dust settles, the key takeaways from this saga continue to shape the conversation about value, trust, and the future of luxury in a world driven by transparency. First Post America. In the end, this entire episode left the world with a clearer, sharper view of what was really at play. The Chinese factories that set the internet on fire showcased impressive skill, no doubt about it. Their videos highlighted talented workers, quality materials, and craftsmanship that could rival what many expect from top-tier luxury brands. But here's the key point that stood firm through all the noise. These weren't official Hermes-made bags. No solid evidence emerged to prove that the iconic Birkins or Kellys sold by Hermes ever came out of those factories. What we saw were skilled replicas, or at best, unauthorized products that mimicked the real thing, but weren't the real deal. For Hermes, this controversy wasn't just about defending the origin of its products, it was about protecting everything the brand stands for. The company launched lawsuits to guard its trademarks, shut down misinformation, and make it clear that its reputation wasn't up for grabs. In doing so, Hermes sent a message to both consumers and the industry. Its name, its designs, and its legacy would be defended fiercely, no matter how viral the claims against it might get. But beyond the legal battles and viral headlines, this saga left something bigger in its wake. It fueled a growing debate that isn't going away anytime soon, the debate over what luxury pricing really means. The episode forced consumers to think harder about what they're paying for when they choose high-end goods. Is it the craftsmanship? The rarity? Or simply the brand story they've been sold for generations? And just how much of that price tag is tied to true value versus perception? In the end, the controversy didn't just pull back the curtain on luxury production, it cracked open a much larger conversation about transparency, trust, and what luxury should stand for in the modern world. The questions raised aren't going away, and as both brands and buyers navigate this new landscape, one thing is certain: the age of blind trust in luxury names is over. What do you think was the most shocking news? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories.